Very good morning to you. Here we are again, thinking about David, and now we come to the very well-known situation that arose when David, having settled in Jerusalem and having established his kingship with several forays against the Philistines, who you remember he had lived amongst when he was fleeing from Saul, but he defeated them when he sought the Lord as to how to do it. And then we come to this situation where he decides to, along with all his people, they all decide that they're going to bring the Ark of God from where it has been resting in the house of Abinadab and bring it into Jerusalem. And they put it on a new cart, and it's drawn by oxen, and they are all rejoicing before the Lord, and it's a wonderful occasion. And then suddenly the oxen stumble, and Uzzah puts forth his hand to the ark to steady it, and he dies on the spot. And people find this very difficult to understand, why God broke out upon Uzzah. The anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah. It's interesting, really, isn't it, that we forget that when we're reading David, that David lived in a period of time when the Israelites were the people of God under the law, and their covenant was to keep the law. And the law said very, very clearly that the Ark of the Lord was to have discs at the side, rings on the side of it, through which poles would be put, and the Ark was to be carried on the shoulders of Levites. It was not to be carried on a cart or touched by anyone who was not allowed to touch it. This was a period of legalism. It was not a period of grace that we live under. And Uzzah was a sinful man. They all were. If David had put his hand out to touch the ark, he would have died. Uzzah, poor chap, died. And David was angry. All this wonderful setup, all this wonderful moment in his kingship to establish the presence of the Lord with him in Jerusalem. And the Lord had been so good to him. And he was angry. It doesn't say why he was angry. He was just angry. The whole thing just went sour in a moment. A tragedy struck. And he didn't know what to do. He really did not know what to do. So what did they do? They left it. They left it in the house of Obed-Edom, which happened to be the property that they were passing by on that road on the way to Jerusalem. And God blessed Obed-Edom because the ark was resting in his house. For 3 months he blessed it. He blessed the household. God was not angry with the people of Israel. He was angry with the disobedience. He was angry with the sin. Without Jesus, God would be very angry with us. But we're in a period of grace when God has extended his grace to us because Jesus has paid the price for all the sin. And, excuse me, I've got a frog in the throat. And it says in verse 12 of 2 Samuel 6, "And it was told King David, the Lord has blessed the household of Obed-Edom and all that belongs to him because of the ark of the Lord." And we do need to turn over, if you will, turn over to 1 Chronicles chapter 15, because it does add a little something there that the king's account does not record. At the beginning of chapter 15, David built houses for himself in the city of David, and he prepared a place for the ark of God and pitched a tent for it. And then David said, "No one but the Levites may carry the ark of God, for the Lord chose them to carry the ark of the Lord and to minister to him forever." So it's quite clear here that Between when Uzzah died, in that 3 months, David thought about it, prayed about it, questioned it. Why did this happen, Lord? Why did this person die? What is it all about? And he came to know that it was because they were doing it wrong, and that there would be no harm to anyone if they did it the right way. Just as there'd been no harm to Obed-Edom, the presence of the ark did not bring illness or sickness or death to anybody, as long as they didn't touch it, as long as they left it alone. But the property was greatly blessed. Their understanding of God grew. David's understanding of God grew. That with God you had to, at that stage, you had to keep his law. You had to live under the covenant in which you were living. And then that chapter in 1 Chronicles tells of all the arrangements made to get everything ready. And in verse 14 of 1 Chronicles 15:14 it says, "So the priests and the Levites sanctified themselves to bring up the ark of the Lord, the God of Israel. And the Levites carried the ark of God upon their shoulders with the poles, as Moses had commanded, according to the word of the Lord." And that chapter is interesting to read if you get a chance to read 1 Chronicles 15. It tells you all about the people that David appointed to serve the Lord, those he appointed to sing praise to God all the time, those he appointed to worship God and be part of the ministry around the ark. It's an interesting chapter, telling us a lot about what was happening. So David so clearly knew what he had done. When he spoke to the priests, he said, "You are the heads of the fathers' houses of the Levites. Sanctify yourselves, you and your brethren, so that you may bring up the ark of the Lord, the God of Israel, to the place I prepared for it. Because you did not carry it the first time, the Lord our God broke forth upon us, because we did not care for it in the way that is ordained." So David had come quite clearly to understand that he had to do things the way that pleased the Lord. And this is true for us today. Not in the same way, we will not die because God is angry with us. But now we've come to understand that if we don't do things God's way, we open up a way for Satan to take advantage of us. And that is always going to bring disaster. Satan comes to kill and steal and destroy, it says in John 10. That's his purpose. He doesn't come with any good intentions towards us at all. And this wonderful book does tell us the best way to live our lives so that disaster does not fall upon us. So that this is the manual for living. And we don't earn salvation, eternal salvation, by following the regulations and the principles of this book. But they are a fruit of the root of our lives that is in Jesus. We see the Lord Jesus, we see the way he lived, the way he did things. We see his attitude to people, we see his behavior, we emulate him, we are his disciples. But we don't earn our salvation by what we do. Our salvation is given to us. But we do not open ourselves up to the consequences of sin, because we don't perpetuate the sin if we can help it, because we know it's not good for us. So David learned a harsh lesson there that day when he tried with the best of intentions to move the ark of God. He did it the wrong way. And we need to be very careful the things we embark upon in our lives, not to embark upon things that are not good for us. My time is up, gone. See you tomorrow. God bless you. Bye-bye.